3 minutes at the end to do whatever they want. I haven't even had the coach come. The coach doesn't come down with me for the warm up. I just take that. So obviously not everyone has the luxury of having a conditioner to go down there and do that for them. Okay. I just find when people are I see it in a couple of the reserve grades or the lower grades, that when the coach does come in and try to show them stuff, just nothing sinks in. They're thinking about the game. And so if they've been taught it before and it's just a little drill where they can maybe just do it like a little pummel if their wrestle's not that good or something like that, that mightn't be such a bad thing. But I think if I don't think you should be coaching for a 10-minute block before a game or something or anything like that. It probably just takes away from their thinking they wouldn't be switched on for it.
Yeah, I think Mel said you do that Thursday night if you're going to change it, so they know when they get there Saturday that's what they've got to do in the morning.
Yeah, if you let them know, definitely. And like we haven't even played a trial yet this year at Norse. We've run through that warm up twice already, or close to that. And then on the first couple of trials, you get this and you get it down pat. I try not to talk as little as possible during it. Once the first few games, once they're done, I just get them just to go there. They know when it's time to switch on, and they should just be able to sort of go through it robotically, pretty much, as I said.
Warm up for training, would it just be an abbreviated bit of that? Just a few of those things.
Just a little quote here. The athlete should be able to begin a game or training session totally ready to perform at maximal intensity if required. So obviously for a game they have to be able to be ready for maximal intensity, and that's when that central nervous system to kick in, your heart rate up and your blood, and to be able to pump the blood around, okay, and obviously the switched on factor. To be able to work at maximal, because you don't want to be down a trial or two. So I think that you have to be, you've got to be fully ready to go. So depending on what your training session is. If your training session is just like a defence one where you're just sort of just showing what angles to come in at and so on, you may not need that like a full warm up like that. So for a running session, I'll do that dynamic warm up. I'll change it up just because at training it does get boring and so on, but so I'll change that one up at training. Okay, but a lot of those ones still stay. A lot of the dynamic movements, just in a different form. You wouldn't go through pads if they're just going to do a conditioning session. They mightn't even get a ball in their hands. So you tailor your warm up to what's going to happen in your training or your game session. Okay, that's what I think as well.
Dave, how long is too long between finishing your warm up and coming back to sheds and getting on the field?
Yeah, quite often you have that delay. Like you might think you're going on at 2 o'clock or 2:05 and someone's been hurt out there and you might have 15 minutes. Yeah, you probably get away with just standing still in the shed, probably 10 minutes before the guys are pretty pumped. You don't want to give them a warm up and they're all ready to go, and they do get a bit flat. So maybe just give them just like a quick pummel or just something they're used to, just to get the heart rate back up, or maybe just a quick jog on the spot, just something nice and quick, just to get them something back in the zone, because at 10 minutes, they're all pumped to go out, depending on what age level you're at. They're pumped to go out, and you don't want them to get too flat, because it's an arousal thing as well, the warm up, I think.
So sort of 10 minutes is about it. You don't want to be standing around longer than that.
Yeah, 10 minutes, you don't want to be waiting too much longer. So, for example, we'll go out about, depending on how far the field is, about 25 We'll give the guys an exact time, okay? And then I'll just give them a countdown. That's just for me. For the guy, I'll just tell them they got 5 minutes or 10 minutes, just in case they need a quick massage or they need to get strapped or they got to get their boots on and so on. So I'll just give them a countdown every sort of 5-10 minutes. And then when it comes, then we'll get down there, get everyone out there, and we'll go through it. It'll take a couple of minutes to get down to it, depending on where you're at. And that should be about 15 minutes. That took about 15, but we sort of stopped and started to have a drink and didn't have a stretch somewhere. But with the guys, that's about a 15-minute warm-up. And then they have to get back up into the sheds.
What about shoulders and neck warming them up? Is that
well, the defence stuff, you get knocked around. Like that's usually 100%. If you got 100 kilos front rows or guys equal to that of that age group, giving you good hits, you can. A static stretch like that, once again, a static stretch won't do too much. It hasn't been shown to decrease injury rate or anything like that. So a static stretch is best for increasing muscle length, okay, which most of you guys know. which do decrease injury in that way. But a static stretch before the game isn't going to help decrease injury during the game. It's a series of ongoing static stretches over a fair few weeks that's going to help improve muscle weight. Okay.
Am I jumping the gun on about warm downs after the game? Are we doing that?
Yeah, no, well, we're not doing that, but depending on what level the guys play at, and I'm going to talk a bit about in a sec about how to be a bit more efficient with your training and like periodisation and planning. Okay, it doesn't quite fit into, well, you may not think it fits into conditioning, but I think it's a great thing in there. We'll talk about flexibility a bit there, but at the end, all you need is, depending on what recovery things tools you got, okay. Some of the recovery things, hot and cold showers. Not everyone's got ice baths, obviously, to work with. So just a basic hot and cold shower does work. The compression garments, like those new skins, they do work. And also just like a stretch or like say a walk. They don't even want to do a light jog after, and there's no, it's just going to stress them out a bit more. So you want maybe just a light walk, and they can stretch, but it is hard to get them to stretch. They're probably better off stretching the next day. And I suppose that'll lead into the next part, which we'll talk about in a sec. Just keep firing questions, guys, if you've got any.
Dave, you're talking there pretty much about what you're doing.
Yeah, this is what we, once again, it's not, that's not...
No, I'm just saying with the question when it comes to the kids, we're probably better off sort of introducing it just to get it into their heads that they should stretch, or do you think you still use the same attitude? Not just having a walk.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
At the end.
To introduce them to some stretches and get them to do like 13s, 14s. Or would you feel
when you've done a really high intensity bout of work, like you have at football, you don't get as much, your ability to stretch isn't as good as if you've just done like something low intensity to warm the muscles and then you have a good stretch. Like say, I don't know if many of you guys do a lot of exercise or high intensity exercise or like heavy leg weights or anything like that, but if you try to stretch after you're doing that, you just don't feel, and you just can't get quite a good stretch here just because your muscles are fatigued and they're still sort of really tense after doing work. It's probably your call. Like it is probably a good thing to get in their mind to stretch, definitely, because so many kids these days
low
want to
impact
try.
than high impact.
Well, yeah, so like after training, so if you finish with just a defensive drill or something like that, you need to stretch after that.
Well, what I do, I just walk like about 30 metres and I get my guy just to walk them 10, do a star jump, walk them 10, do one push up, walk them 10, do a sit up, then do the same coming back, just slow them down.
Oh, at the end?
Yeah, after a game, just cool down.
Yeah, so that's not too bad. A good thing with your, if you wanted to do a cool down like that, like a nice easy walk and then do an exercise that challenges a range of muscles, like that walking lunge where if you take a big step, it's hard on the quad, probably that's not a good example, sorry, because that's an eccentric exercise. But like big movements that do challenge, so like a toe touch wouldn't be a bad one, like just to stretch it out, okay, and it helps remove the waste, sort of squeeze it out of the muscle.
Because you won't get them in the shower.
Anyway, hot cold showers, they're just straight out the door looking for some chips and coke.
That's it.
Does anyone want to share what they do if they think? So you can see how. So we'll just quickly go through that. So that first part was the general warm up, I call it, and the rest. So the first part, that square, was a general warm up. Then once we involved the football and onwards, it was like more specific to football. So that general warm up. Also take a netball team, which obviously is nothing like rugby league as a sport. Okay, and they do a very similar general warm up because it gets just about all those leg muscles. Through a dynamic stretch, okay, it gets a core and heart rate up. So that's the main idea of that part. Okay, so then you get your main basics of footy in there. So you got timing with the ball, so that's obviously quite important. Hitting the advantage line, being able to time, hitting space. Okay, with that crossover drill. And then the next one's through the pad, so it's just getting used to catching the ball and hitting contact. Okay, so just getting into that, and obviously still they're getting the hits on the shoulder and the movement through the neck. So that sort of is warming it up. Okay, more specifically than just doing a static stretch. Okay, and then they do their tackle, which is obviously as specific to football as you can get. And then at the end, any niggles, they'll have that stretch. Sorry, after the dynamic stretch, I'll have that stretch there. Anything else with that? Alright, we'll move on. I just did this a little bit. I didn't know how long that was going to take because it's just numbers and stuff. So just did a little bit extra. which will hopefully, you're not going to learn much from this, but it might just give you something to think about as coaches. I've just called it